The scene plays out frequently in the southwestern United States. Law enforcers tearing down bumpy back roads, sometimes through private ranch lands, in hot pursuit of a truck or SUV. In South Texas, the scene often ends at the Rio Grande, authorities watching helplessly as the driver and his load of cash, weapons, or drugs make their way back to Mexico.
In many ways, the drug runner is in control of the scene. They've got the vehicle, they've got the dope. Once they get into the river, they're home free.
This is a Stratfor special report. Although Mexican military troops have been fighting drug cartels for the past 3 years, proof of their efforts is often hard to find in the endless swaths of rural terrain along the 2,000-mile border. Stratfor's top security expert, Fred Burton, is a former federal agent who recently was a special consultant to the Texas Department of Public Safety on border security issues. Videos he's seen of border operations clearly show that drug cartels, and not Mexican troops, control many well-known transshipment points along the Rio Grande.
What is noticeable is the sheer lack of Mexican police or military presence on the other side. And clearly when you look at that, what resonates with me is the actual control that the cartels have of that side of the border. Because as you watch the surveillance tape unfold, you see absolutely zero police presence on the Mexican side. There's no military, and there's really no sense of urgency on the part of the drug smugglers.
Aerial footage of Border Patrol operations, which was not released for this report, illustrates the point. In several episodes, Burton says, DPS cameras captured images of Ford F-250s loaded with suspicious-looking bundles, careening down dirt roads and pursued by a variety of Border Patrol and police vehicles. Without slowing down, the driver plunges the truck into the Rio Grande and starts swimming toward the Mexican side, while his cargo, in waterproof wrappings, bobs to the surface. Accomplices on the far shore launch rafts to retrieve the bundles. On the U.S. side of the river, dozens of vehicles, red lights blazing, are parked by the water's edge. On the Mexican side, only the cartel workmen can be seen.
And then you'll see our U.S. police assets just stop and just watch the drug dealers load up their dope and take it back to live to fight another day.
Analysts say there's evidence of endemic corruption on both sides of the border. That includes the Mexican military troops fighting the cartels.
The reason the military was deployed for this effort was because the military was perceived to be the least corrupt of the bodies of the government. As they continue to work closely on the kinds of operations that are needed in order to root out the cartels and to fight the cartels head on, they become more and more exposed to these corruptive factors, and it becomes more and more difficult for them.
Another problem is that Mexico's government has gutted many police departments along the border in efforts to stamp out the corruption.
Now, these people are reinstated or they are fired. The police are basically brought back into power, but they're brought back in after a cleansing to deal with the exact same problem, which is the threat of plata or plomo, silver or lead. Essentially, you can take a bribe or you can take a bullet.
Border operations that Burton's reviewed also suggest evidence of corruption, especially within a 25-mile wide buffer zone inside the U.S. border, territory he says has been all but ceded to the drug cartels.
You have to ask yourself, why aren't certain police vehicles doing certain things at certain times? For example, you'll see evidence where you could have, for example, rammed the F-250 carrying dope, but that's not done. You see areas where streets could be blocked off, but that's not occurring. There'll be areas at night that one has to be very careful about providing any kind of tactical intelligence as to where you might have intelligence as to dope that's going to come across, for fear that those kinds of operations are going to be compromised. And again, this is not unique to just any sector. The corruption in some of these areas are systemic. It far exceeds the bandwidth or the capability of the local, state, or federal resources. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of federal assets that's specifically assigned to deal with corruption.